All right, everybody. Now to talk about the NFC Wildcard game that's going to happen tonight. It is the NBC marquee matchup. It is the New Orleans Saints, led, of course, by Drew Brees and Sean Payton, traveling to Philadelphia to take on the NFC East champion Philadelphia Eagles, led by Nick Foles and LaShawn McCoy. Now, talking about the Saints won 11-5 this season. Somewhere in the middle, near like the third, fourth quarter of the year, they were, perceived as neck and neck with the Seattle Seahawks for home field advantage. And of course, we know the Saints at home, they are lethal. They are, majorly impossible to defeat in the Superdome, especially with Sean Payton coming back after his year-long banishment after Bounty Gate. The Saints obviously return to what they did best, and that's scoring points in bunches, but in the Superdome. Then all of a sudden, later in the season, some things happen. And of course, what we all know about the Saints is that while they are almost invincible at home, they are extremely vulnerable on the road. They went 8-0 at home this season, yet they went 3-5 on the road. And they took some ugly losses to the Jets. They had some misfortune against the Patriots. And then, let's see, who else did they lose to? They also lost to, they went to Seattle, and they were thoroughly humiliated on Monday Night Football. And then they go to St. Louis, and they get beat up. And then they go to Carolina and give up the NFC South crown, which they were in the front for. And then Carolina got hot and snatched it from them and snatched the first round bye, which of course would have helped out the Saints immensely, as, like I said, they have a propensity to falter on the road. So obviously they had a great season in comparison to where they were last year when they went 7-9 and set the record for most yards given up by a defense in NFL history. And that defense tightened up a lot thanks to Rob Ryan coming in and turning that defense around. But they have their work cut out for them, because the road to the Super Bowl will be on the road for the Saints, because they are the 6th seed, and no matter what happens, I mean, the number 1 seed could fall next week, the number 2 seed could fall next week, seeds 3 and 4 could fall. If the 5th seed, which is the 49ers, if it's just the Saints and the 49ers as the last 2 teams standing in the NFC, that game's at Candlestick. It's not going to be in New Orleans because they are the lowest seed. So this is going to be an ultimate test for the New Orleans Saints to see if they can really be a Super Bowl contender out in the open. In a dome, hey, they'll murk you, but in that grass, meh. So let's talk about the Saints a little bit more. Like I said, they're 8-0 at home. They're 3-5 on the road. Obviously, you have your road warriors like the New York Giants during their Super Bowl run, the Packers during their Super Bowl run, the Steelers during their Super Bowl run. But these are road warriors, like worry, W-O-R-R-Y. Because if you noticed, the big thing about the Saints is that when they're in the Superdome, they score quick. They get chunk plays like most people get 3-yard gains. I mean, you have a team that can get 3-yard runs where the Saints can equal that in 40-yard passes and 50-yard touchdowns and things like that. They get their yards in chunks. They are a chunk team. But they're not so much a chunk team when they're playing in grass. This is a major concern, because as prolific as Drew Brees is, as many touchdowns he throws and how many yards he can compile week in, week out, and what Sean Payton has done with this team, they suck on the road. So now they have to figure out how to channel their inner Superdome playing ability and channel that into a road situation. Because like I said, they can win this game against the Eagles, and they're immediately going right back to Seattle, the same place where they were just curb stomped by the Seahawks. 34-7. So they would have to go through the arduous task of going through Philadelphia, then going through Seattle, and then let's say hypothetically the Panthers win out. Then they would have to go back to the same place where they gave up the NFC South in Carolina, or let's say if the if the Packers win, then they would have to go to Lambeau. Or if the Niners win, they would have to go to Candlestick. No matter what's going to happen, they have to play all their games on the road just to get to New York or New Jersey, MetLife, Super Bowl, you know what I mean. The other major news for the Saints is that they're going to be without Pierre Thomas. Now, Pierre Thomas isn't your big name back like you would have an Adrian Peterson or Marshawn Lynch or Jamal Charles, Frank Gore, etc. But the thing about Pierre Thomas is he is their thumper back. I mean, he is their strong back. He's not gonna abuse you for a $110, $140 yards a clip. But he moves the chains when they need him to get those short yardage situations, those short yardage plays, or catching passes out of the backfield. He's hard to bring down. Well, because of some chest injuries, he's out. So Mark Ingram and Darren Sproles are going to have to step it up. Now, this wouldn't be a problem if they were at home, on that carpet. They're a track team. But out on that grass, that's going to be a major concern because Mark Ingram, for as high as he was drafted, he was their first-round pick a couple seasons ago. He hasn't been nearly as effective. And, of course, Darren Sproles is the gadget man, and they're going to have to rely on him heavy, like, catching passes out of the backfield, returning punts, returning kicks, whatever the case may be. But they need a back to step up in Pierre Thomas's absence. And the big thing, obviously, for the Saints is that defense. They're going to have to figure out how to stop Shady McCoy. LaShawn McCoy, the NFL rushing champion this season, he's gonna get his, just straight up. Whether it's like I said with Darren Sproles, whether he's catching passes out of the backfield, whether he's cutting between tackles, he is the most dangerous running back in the league right now. Like, as far as if you watch him play, his cuts and the way he breaks out of cuts and how he can stop and start at the drop of a dime, it's incredible to watch. He is one of the best backs in the league. I mean, he is top 5 for sure. And he's the NFL rushing champion, so he has that, he can tack that on his jacket. But the Saints need to figure out how to stop Shady McCoy because they need to turn Nick Foles one-dimensional. This is Nick Foles' debut playoff game, and they need to put as much pressure on him as possible. Because if Shady McCoy starts getting loose, that's going to make Nick Foles even more comfortable to start getting that ball down the field. And Chip Kelly's offense, whether it's sputtered for a couple weeks, it's back. Like, he has that offense humming. And the thing is, you can't stop Shady. Shady's going to get his. Nick Foles is going to get that ball out to Deshaun Jackson, to Riley Cooper, Jason Avant, Ertz, Selleck. He has weapons on the outside. And it all starts with Shady, because if you can get Shady going, then that offense works well. So you need to stop him. He is the heart of that offense. So that's my keys for the game for the Saints. Now we flip it over to the Philadelphia Eagles, who obviously, won in Week 17, beat the Dallas Cowboys. Another NFC East Week 17 matchup that decided the division for the third straight year. But the Eagles got it. Chip Kelly in his first season, 10-6. First playoff game. They host a playoff game. And here are my keys for the Philadelphia Eagles to win this game. For one, Shadyville. It's all about LaShawn McCoy. Everything I said that the Saints need to do to stop LaShawn McCoy, Philadelphia, get LaShawn the ball. Just like I said in the Kansas City analysis, you get LaShawn McCoy 20 touches in this game, 25, 30 touches, whether it's runs, catches, the whole nine. You make that defense work their ass off to try to stop him. Because if you can get LaShawn McCoy on track and get him moving and like we know he can move, then like I said, that's going to open up the playbook big time for Chip Kelly to get Nick Foles to start airing it out, because that defense for the Saints is not the same defense on grass. I mean, I don't know how many times I got to keep harping on it, but the Saints are not the same team away from that dome, and they're going to be tested big time. When you have and they actually lost their rookie safety Kenny Vaccaro to injury, so he's out. So now Roman Harper, who is like the most massive liability for the Saints secondary, is going to have to take his spot. So you don't think for one split second that he's going to get picked on? The Seahawks did it in 2010. The 49ers did it in 2011. What makes you think that Chip Kelly doesn't realize that and he's going to have Nick Foles doing the same thing this year? Next up, you got to keep Nick Foles clean. In order for him to get that ball down the field, you cannot let Cameron Jordan and what's his name, Gillette, and basically guys like that. You can't, and Curtis Lofton, you can't let the Saints defense, because Rob Ryan loves to blitz. He loves the blitz. He loves the blitz as much as he loves to eat. Sorry, Ryan, fat joke. Had to get it out. But Rob Ryan likes to blitz. And if the Eagles' offensive line, who have gelled in the last few weeks, if they can keep Foles clean, it's going to be a great day for Philly. They got to make sure to protect Nick Foles from a blitz-happy defensive coordinator for the Saints and Rob Ryan. Keep him clean. It's going to be a great day for Philly. Finally, defensively, no easy breeze. No easy breeze. Because the minute he can sit in that pocket and start going through his progressions and looking for his targets, that's when you're going to have a nightmare. Because Drew Brees is, he is an elite quarterback. Let's just go ahead and just say it right now. He is a top 5 QB, top 3, if you want to take it, if you really want to take it there. That Philly, that Eagles defense, Trent Cole and Kendricks, they got to get it popping. Connor Barwin, D'Amico Ryans, they got to get it done. They got to make the moves. They got to get in Drew Brees' face. You can't let that man sit in that pocket and be comfortable. So when I say no easy breeze, you disrupt him. You got to disrupt him, and he's not a big dude. He is my height. So obviously, make it to where he has to scramble and run, and he's not as effective as a scrambling QB as, say, an Aaron Rodgers or Tony Romo. Those guys. You rattle him. You got to get in his face. And being outdoors, that offensive line for the Saints, I think they're going to have some problems tonight. And having said that, my pick for tonight is the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I said, I don't know how many times I harped on it and went ad nauseum with it about the Saints and their road woes. But tonight in Philly, in a cold scenario in Philadelphia, I don't see the Saints pulling this off. They're going to get their points, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be the Shady McCoy show. Shady McCoy is going to run wild. Nick Foles is going to do what he does. And, Philly's at home. Philly's out in the open, out in the grass, and they got a dome team coming to play them. I like Philly in this one. I'd say 31-20. So that's my pick for the NFC Wildcard matchup for tonight. Stay tuned. I will be back tomorrow as I lay out the analysis and keys to the game and picks for the other 2 wildcard matchups between the Chargers and Bengals and the 49ers and Packers. So, till then, Sager Mason signing out. Peace.